Is Rick Carlisle's style officially out of date, or was it just a bad fit with him and Luka?
Oh, I think that, listen, Rick made some pretty significant missteps early on in Luka's rookie year, and I would say that relationship didn't have a chance because Rick was trying to build it on a foundation that he cracked within the first few weeks of Luka, arriving in the NBA. I think Rick is probably taking a different approach in Indiana. I think he realizes the mistakes that he made. That's also more of a veteran team now. They've got other issues up there in terms of are they good and so on and so forth. But just the way that Rick approached things, not even so much with Luka, but with that team, it blew up in his face. And look, was Rick right in his assessment of Dennis Smith Jr. as a prospect, as a player? Yes. Should he have pounded the table and been stronger on draft Donovan Mitchell? Obviously. You can be right in your assessment and wrong in your approach. And Rick was dead wrong in his approach. And it really cost him because as much as NBA coaching is about X's and O's and strategy and all that stuff, it's really a relationship business more than anything. And, that's where he really failed the last few years and ultimately led to him deciding that he was going to get out before they got him.
It's Tim MacMahon with us. This isn't necessarily a question about your article, but it is related because you mentioned that Rick Carlisle really wanted Donovan Mitchell instead of Dennis Smith Jr. We're all familiar that Donnie Nelson, once upon a time, really wanted to pick the Greek Freak.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work in the Mavericks? I guess how did that work in the Mavericks room when you had Carlisle, Donnie, Cuban?
Cuban.
Listen,
Cuban. That's it. Mark Cuban he doesn't have a GM title, but Mark Cuban he's the primary decision maker of the Dallas Mavericks in all things Dallas Mavericks. So ultimately the buck stops there. He signs the check and the buck stops there. Mark Cuban, and this has been well documented, he listens to people, but who he's listening to, who's the last voice in his ear, that tends to vary. At times it has been Donnie Nelson. At times it has been Rick Carlisle. At times it has been Bob Voulgaris. Players having various levels of influence and all those things. And look, Cuban will readily admit that the Mavericks needed a major cultural reset. He fired Donnie Nelson. Bob is gone. Bob Voulgaris is gone. Although I'll tell you, I think if Cuban could have found a way to keep him and keep things kind of peaceful, he would have. Rick resigned before he went into a season where his seat would have been scalding hot. Jason Kidd has come in and really prioritized communication with players, trying to correct some things that Rick did wrong, also correct some things, Jay Kidd maybe didn't get exactly right at his previous head coaching stops. And then, the hire of Nico Harrison, now they have a general manager who is really a relationship guy. 20 years as an executive with Nike, had relationships with players, agents, coaches, scouts, executives throughout the league, highly respected throughout the league, but able to, help the communication process within the organization. And I'm telling you, over the last few years, it was Game of Thrones there. It was everybody, backstab here, backstab there, power play here, power play there. They've at least got everybody rowing in the same direction now. Having said all that, at some point, you got to get results on the court. And so far, the Mavericks are mediocre at this point.
Tim, how is the demeanor then of like Luka and KP and those guys? Are they do you feel like they're relieved by all the things that have transpired here as of this last year?
Well, they were both certainly relieved that Rick stepped down. And, as I reported in there, Porzingis, it got to a point with Porzingis where he wasn't going to request or demand a trade. He understood, hey, I got out of New York. I'm not in a position to be able to do that. But he was hoping they would find a trade partner for him. He was hoping that he was going to get moved this offseason until Rick stepped down. And then it's breath of fresh air. I had somebody tell me the one thing that Luka and KP had in common last year is they both couldn't stand Rick. Now, they weren't quite able to bond over that, but they both came back, relieved, turning the page. Obviously, their chemistry in terms of just, hey, we're not counting high fives anymore. They came back, they dapped it up, and they've been good moving forward. Now, Luka, you're starting to see, you've seen frustration from him, but it's not related to a relationship with a coach or a teammate. Look, Luka came back out of shape. That's, you had eyeballs. Reggie Miller blew it up, and then Luka had to kind of fess up to it. So he's been frustrated with that. He's not. Luka can be really good out of shape. He can't be the MVP candidate that the Mavericks need to have a chance to get out of the first round. And if you want to talk about Mavericks' problems this year on the court, we can hit on a 3-point slump and this, that, and the other. They've been worse with Luka on the floor than without him. That's a problem. He's out of shape. There's some spacing issues and whatnot, but he's nowhere near as dominant an offensive force as he's as a ridiculously high standard that he set. And let's just call it like it is. He's absolutely been atrocious defensively. I mean, he's one of the worst defensive players in the league this season. The Mavericks are a good defensive team when he's not on the floor, and awful when he's out there. That has a lot to do with conditioning. That has a lot to do with griping at refs when, hey, everybody else, 9 other guys are running back the other way. You're sitting there griping at the referee. It's hard to play defense that way. And so, he's got to get healthy and get in shape. The problem is it's hard to get in shape when you've got a bad wheel, and then you keep dinging that wheel up, in part because you're not in shape. So the chicken and egg thing that has to get figured out sooner than later.